A lot of OG Assassin's Creed players are always with the hope that they are going to be able to see a change, and somehow Ubisoft starts making older type of Assassin's Creed games from their current RPG Assassin's Creed formula. And I think that is just not the case. Listen, I also hope for the same and always dream about getting a new Assassin's Creed game where it is similar to that of maybe Ezio Trilogy or any of the other older Assassin's Creed games. I also want the same vibe of running on Venice rooftops and listening to Venice rooftops and then continue knowing about Ezio's story more. Then I'd be greeted by some real characters rather than some automated characters with zero personality. Why wouldn't I like those things as well, right? Unfortunately, things might not be like this, I think, in the future. But the moment I'm making this video, the co-founder of Ubisoft has revealed that there's multiple Assassin's Creed remakes that are in development. And I think it's Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and Assassin's Creed 1, according to some sources. So you might be able to experience those older games again. But I think you should not expect the same from the newer Assassin's Creed games that are gonna release in the future. Most of them, in my opinion, are gonna be RPG games and some, stealth type of games like Assassin's Creed Mirage, in between. Now again, I have to mention I have nothing against RPG Assassin's Creed games. I'm just talking about what's gonna happen. And you might think, well, we're gonna see some stealth games in between, maybe like Assassin's Creed Mirage, but I'm also gonna say that still those games are not gonna be similar to that of the older Assassin's Creed games. And in my previous video, I talked about how Assassin's Creed Mirage, that was supposedly a return to the roots game, was still not able to do the same magic as the older Assassin's Creed games. So, people are gonna argue with me that they have some plans and maybe they're gonna put some, stealth sort of games, but I still feel like it's not gonna have the same vibe as the older Assassin's Creed games. I just don't think that is gonna be the case. Now, why do I think that we are not gonna see the older type of Assassin's Creed games in the future? The old sort of formula that was present in Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, Black Flag, Rogue, and stuff like that. So I don't think we are gonna see that again, and there's a very deeper thing that a lot of people might not recognize. One of the most important reason for this is that the games industry in general has shifted. It's not just Ubisoft, but a lot of other companies have done the same. That's why in the recent times, there's so many companies making their own RPG games. There are only a few companies who have stood their ground and not indulged in this sort of thing. Now, why the games industry has overall shifted to RPG games and online games? And same reason is for Assassin's Creed. First reasoning is simple. The technological improvements in the recent years have been massive. If you tried to make an RPG game in 2000s, you'd have a hard time doing it because of the limitations of the older gen consoles and hardware. Also, the online games were not that much popular at that time because internet in general was not that good at that time, right, compared to what it is right now. These sort of things were just in the initial phase at that time. Most of the games people played offline without any sort of internet connection, right? If you remember, there was a multiplayer mode in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and that was pretty new at that time. So it's not like the games industry didn't think about RPG and online games before. It's just that at that time it was very hard to do so. But after like 2010, companies saw that RPG games are getting on a rise, and the nature of RPG games is that they can generate a lot of revenue for the companies. You just make this one big game and that has lots of elements in it. The more elements that are present in the game, the more you can sell microtransactions. It is gonna be more justifiable, right? Also, the RPG games are massive in size, and even after you complete the story, you might still do roaming around and doing side stuff. Just think about it. Which game are you more likely to spend money in? A big RPG game with hundreds of hours of content, or a smaller narrative driven game with max 20 hours content and some side stuff here and there? And I'm not talking about the base price, I'm talking about the microtransactions in the game. Obviously, you have to buy the base game, right? There's no other way around, but I'm talking about what's going to happen after that. Are you going to buy microtransactions in the smaller game or the larger game? Most people are likely to spend on microtransactions in a big RPG game. That's how our brain works. People think the bigger is better, right? That's why Assassin's Creed Valhalla earned over $1 billion despite the fact that it was not received well by a lot of people, and even including me. Similar with online games as well, right? Like Fortnite, I used to play that game a lot because these online games don't have any ending. They are by nature made to play infinitely, right? And that is the reason Fortnite earns so much money through their microtransactions, because it is just infinite, right? I have insane amount of hours in the game. I don't even remember. Let me check right now, guys. I have 4,800 hours in Fortnite, guys. So by the nature of these games, you're just gonna have more moments where you're gonna spend money in these games, right? That's why if Ubisoft is also coming up with some online Assassin's Creed games as well in the future. Online games and RPG games in general have a bigger incentive to create over the smaller narrative-driven games. Once you finish these smaller games, you just move on, right? And for the companies, that's not good. They want you to play the game more, because the more you play, the more you're likely to buy microtransactions in the game. And that's what online and RPG games do. They are kind of cheat codes to generate revenue, considering the game is actually somewhat good in terms of the elements. The game doesn't have to have the best narrative or whatever. There's just more to do so in these, RPG and online games, and that lures a lot of people. In older Assassin's Creed games, you just bought the game, played it for 15 hours, and the story is over, right? Maybe if you like the game very much, you're probably gonna get the collectibles in the game, or maybe there is some side activity that you're gonna indulge in. For example, the homestead missions in Assassin's Creed 3, and those were actually really good missions. But because these games are only 15 to 20 hours long, the companies put all their efforts in making these games worth your while. So that's why in the narrative-driven games, you just see more of mocap cutscenes, well-written dialogues, and other stuff that enhances the overall narrative of the game. Because these games are meant for quality as opposed to the quantity. But unfortunately, these games don't have that much feasibility compared to that of RPG Assassin's Creed games, because RPG Assassin's Creed games have the quantity. Doesn't matter how bad narrative design the game has, it's still gonna generate more revenue on the basis of the gameplay and other so much stuff that is present in the game, like skill tree. There's like so much stuff you can do. There's a lot of stuff. At the end, just because the art is good does not mean it is feasible, right? And you can clearly see that with Assassin's Creed games. The RPG games made a lot more than the older Assassin's Creed games, despite not having as good of a narrative experience. That's a fact. And the companies at the end of the day will rather spend on creating games that generate more revenue than games who are good in terms of quality but don't generate a lot of revenue. It's like the fight between business and creativity, and some types of games by their nature are better for the business. So companies try to balance, business and creativity, and sometimes when companies see that there is opportunity to grab, then obviously why not, they're gonna do it, right? For example, since PUBG, Fortnite was kind of released, so many game companies started indulging in this sort of thing. And a lot of people can argue, well, RPG games can also have good narrative experience, they can also provide it. And a lot of people also say that Valhalla have good narrative experience, and I feel like some people are definitely gonna like the stories of the RPG games. I would say Assassin's Creed games in general don't have the worst stories even in the RPG games. I feel like Origins had a really good story despite of it being an RPG game, and Odyssey and Valhalla, I would not say it was the best experience in terms of the narrative, but still the games were not that bad in terms of the story. So a lot of people were still kind of okay with it, and they focused more on the gameplay aspect of those games. So these RPG Assassin's Creed overall kind of serve them better, right, in terms of putting as many hours into the game. And also it's good for the company, right, that they're generating so much revenue of the microtransactions. But I just feel like you just cannot compare the story of the RPG Assassin's Creed games with the older Assassin's Creed games. I'm just gonna say it, man, it's objectively not even close, guys. Like stories in Assassin's Creed Ezio trilogy, dude, I just don't think Valhalla Odyssey is even close to that. It's not even close. Even Mirage, it is supposedly a return to the roots game, right? And I have talked about in my previous video about this thing. It was sold as return to the roots, but still it has elements of the RPG games. So at the end of the day, it's still a lot close to the RPG games than it is close to the older types of Assassin's Creed games. I just personally think that, because they have built Assassin's Creed Mirage on the basis of the RPG Assassin's Creed games. But if you want to know more about that, what I think about Assassin's Creed Mirage, you can check my previous video out. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, by the way. Make sure to like this video and consider subscribing to this channel, and comment down your thoughts about this thing, and what do you think, what sort of Assassin's Creed games are gonna come in the future. I just personally think it's gonna be like RPG games, man, like most of them. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.